Hello and welcome. I am Deji Badimasi. It's no longer news that the Vice President of Nigeria, Yemi Osibanjo, has declared to run for the office of the President. Now, by declaring, he ended months of speculations over whether or not he would go for the top position in the country. Osibanjo on Monday officially declared his intention to contest the 2023 presidential election on the platform of the All Progressives Congress APC in a short broadcast shared on his Twitter handle. Now, in the broadcast, the Vice President reiterates how he has worked neck deep in the President Muhammadu Buhari's administration to drive policy implementation and give the government directions. He says if given the opportunity to govern, he will complete what the present administration has started. However, many questions have arisen since the Vice President's declaration. For instance, there are questions as to what will an Osibanjo presidency offer. Would Osibanjo 2023 run translate to a seamless transfer of power from a sitting president to his deputy, which of course will be a first in the history of this country? How will he fare if he was to face his political godfather, Bola Tinubu, in his party primary? Let's discuss this further now. I'm being joined on the program by Curtis Adigba, who is a legal practitioner. Mr. Adigba, thank you very much for joining us on the program. First off, let me get your take on the declaration by the Vice President to run for the office of the President.
Well, I think it is a fantastic thing for Nigerians because we know what Professor Yemi Osibanjo is capable of doing. We know what he represents. We know that he loves this country. He's worked socks out trying to do the best for this country. And we know that there is high demand in this country for the kind of quality leadership that he represents and the potential that he brings into governance. So we're very excited that he's in the race.
So what do you think Osibanjo presidency offer? I mean, what difference, for instance, will it make for the country?
Well, you see, governance is about meeting the needs of the people. And leadership essentially is about setting the right tone. And when people see you leave that tone, then they follow. Now, you understand that Professor Yemi Osibanjo has been the Vice President of Nigeria under President Muhammadu Buhari, a man he fittingly described as a patriot. They set out together to accomplish progress for this country. You know, they came into the country at a time when we wanted change and they promised change. Now, as you understand, change is not an event, it's a process. Now, what it means is that you have to turn from what you are used to something that you are not used to and that you intend to get used to over time because it happens from time to time. Now they set out, of course, to battle change. They set out to fight corruption, to address the infrastructural deficit, to bring about a new thinking in government and all that. Now, did they succeed in doing everything? No. But they have achieved some landmark in some landmark areas. You can testify to the fact that they've done so much in terms of providing infrastructure. You look at the rail system, you look at the network of roads, the bridges that they are building with meager resources at their disposal. Now you look at the war against corruption. I mean, what people do not understand is that the president does not have to arrest people physically, take them to court, and prosecute them. All that is needed is the imprimatur of the president that is willing to set the tone and to set the example for others to follow. What we have seen is a relentless pursuit of the corrupt in the country. But you can again argue that the result has not matched the effort because the judiciary has been setting free a lot of people. What is important, however, is that there is appetite, huge appetite on the part of the government to keep fighting corruption. So an Osibanjo presidency will double down on these areas. Now, the main problem that people are talking about and that I also consider that is a big problem is in the area of security. But let's not forget that when they came in, the situation was worse than what we have right now. In the nation's capital, people couldn't go to church. People couldn't go to mosque. In the nation's capital, bombs were going off like popcorn. All across this country, terrorists were overrunning the country, and they came in and promised that they were going to deal with them. And in fact, at some point, they decapitated the terrorists. Today, Sambisa forest is no longer in the hands of the terrorists. But what has happened over the years is that as they were focusing on the terrorists, a new group of security threat was emerging, the bandits. And of course, what you have is an asymmetrical war. And so the military is getting used to it and try to see how best they can tackle it.
Okay,
and these are all the areas he's promising that he wants to finish what they started.
Okay, I hear you. Now, let's talk about his party, for instance, because, you know, he still has a lot of work to do as far as the party primaries is concerned. We do not know what the party would settle for eventually, whether it's going to be consensus or there's going to be election. But you look at the field, he also has his political godfather to contend with. I'm talking about the former governor of Lagos State, Osibanjo Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Now, I mean, if he was to come up against Tinubu, for instance, in the party primary, do you think he would fare any better at all?
Well, first and foremost, when he made up his mind to contest for president, he knew that he had to contest and win based on the rules of the game. Now, part of that rule is that the parties could adopt a consensus or an elective approach, direct or indirect. I can tell you that Professor Osibanjo is prepared for any method of conducting the primary election. Now, as to whether he can confront and defeat his political godfather, I hope you understand that the man himself has said he does not have a son. 3 days ago, he said he doesn't have any son.
Well, he said he doesn't have a political son that is grown enough to declare.
Of course.
But the truth is we can't deny, we certainly cannot deny the fact, irrespective of what the former governor of Lagos State has said. We certainly cannot deny the fact that he's the political godfather of the vice president.
Deji, there is a symbiotic and mutually beneficial relationship between both men. They are associates, close associates. They have accomplished so much together. And no one can minimize the role that Osibanjo Bola Tinubu has played in his political career. I think the vice president is on record saying some of these things himself. He talked about the groundbreaking approach they had to the elections in the Southwest and how all that was made possible because of Bola Tinubu. So that's not in doubt at all. The vice president will never minimize the role played by Osibanjo Bola Tinubu
and that's the reason I'm asking you now, that how do you think the vice president would fare if he was to square up with Bola Tinubu in the party primary?
Well, I think he would do very well. You know why? Because there's a huge appetite for an outsider-insider in politics. We cannot continue with the old politics that got us to where we are. We cannot continue to double down on things that are not working. All right?
Well, now, but some people would argue and tell you that Bola Tinubu has not been president before.
But he has been in the political system for as long as you and I know.
Yes, but never been in the center before until 2015 when his party won the election.
You cannot compartmentalize politics that way. Don't forget, he's the national leader of the All Progressive Congress. And his jurisdiction is not in one state, it's all over the country, if he's the national leader of the party. So you cannot take away the fact that he plays on the national stage.
I understand you perfectly well, but then, but do you think it could be a problem for the vice president if at the end of the day, Bola Tinubu's name appears on the ballot in the party primary?
If it gets on the party, what?
If the name of Bola Tinubu appears on the ballot in the party primaries, that is, if at the end of the day he decides, nothing happens and nobody steps down for anybody, and they have to decide this. They have to decide this now by a primary election.
The vice president, and I can tell you why. You see, the thinking by many that it does not have structure and that it does not have the resources to run in a national election, it's not smart thinking. And I'll tell you why. That thinking, the undercurrent of that thinking is that all the delegates are just available for the highest bidder. And that is not exactly true. I can tell you that the delegates that are going to come for this election are Nigerians, patriots, who think so much about their country that just a few $1,000s or millions of naira is not enough to buy their conscience. Don't forget that they live in this country.
You must be talking about delegates that I have not seen before. Maybe not party delegates in this country. But maybe they will change. We never can tell. Maybe they will change.
I told you that we have a new politics.
Okay.
All right. The old politics of cynicism, the old politics that says you have to own the whole world before you can seek to represent your people is dying. And I can tell you that the young people of this country are hell-bent on changing that situation. We have to attract the best and the ablest into governance in this country. Otherwise, we cannot move forward.
Well, but the first hurdle is to win the party primary. So that is why the party primary is very crucial. If the vice president is able to scale the party primary, maybe he would be halfway to he would have been halfway now to getting to the presidency. But we just have to wait and see how it plays out. Curtis Adigba, I'm afraid we just have to leave it there. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you, Dejit. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. All right, we'll take a short break now, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Now let's continue this discussion on the declaration by the Vice President. I'm now being joined on the program by Akin Fatunke, who is a public affairs analyst. Thank you very much for joining us on the program. So the Vice President declaring to run for the presidency in 2023. Would you say this is just another declaration, or we are looking at a possible candidate here?
It has to be a possible candidate. If you look at it from the perspective of right of first refusal, ceteris paribus, as we say, and of course, the incumbent vice or deputy has learned a lot of ropes. And within those ropes, he's not necessarily a neophyte from whoever he wants to succeed, but usually not necessarily so. The right to contest, yes. Constitutionally, yes. Ability to be able to take the baton to a level, I wanted to use the word next level, of course, yes. But in the Nigerian situation and the Nigerian milieu, that you know so very well that 2 plus 2 usually end up in some binary answers. They don't not necessarily come to 4. So is he likely to be a candidate? I would say 50-55% yes. The others will share amongst themselves the remaining 50 on account of the ceteris paribus that I have laid out. That is one. Finally, from the emotional intelligence perspective, DG, we talk about, tying the knots, joining the knots. It will be rather strange and very interestingly funny if the vice president to the sitting president has not been able to get some kind of a body language nudge from the incumbents.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I was going to ask you this, that how crucial do you think it is for the vice president to secure the president's support? Because, look, the president has said he has a candidate. Of course, you know, some time ago, he was asked specifically if he had anyone at all he would be supporting. He said yes, but that he was not going to mention the name of the person. We don't know if the vice president is that person. We certainly don't know. But for the vice president, how crucial do you think it will be for him to get the support of the president now if he hopes to clinch the ticket?
In Deji, we are all trying to be tailors here, trying to be straight in a rock jacket, and have to sew things around. I think Mr. President went further to say that if you knew the person that I think I know, that's referring to him, you will kill him. So we've been able to zone it that it has to be a he and not a she. He didn't say you kill the person.
Okay, that's another interesting one.
That's haven't been said. DG, I will use the opportunity of being in your studio, talk to 360 TV, to get a bit serious here. I think we have a situation in our hands that is so fluid, that is so confusing, that even the best of analysts whom I want to look at the crystal ball will be able to now tell you that, no, I don't think anybody kind of understands. Body language of the president himself, body language of those who are pigeon cabinets of the president have indicated that he clearly said that he's not interested. Maybe it was said out of the cuff, but Mr. President, when asked about 2023, actually said, it's not my problem. Meaning that his mantra of saying belongs to everybody and belongs to everybody is something that he wants people ordinarily to go fight for. Now, I have a bit of a challenge as an analyst to say that, yes, I mentioned it earlier, the vice president has first right of refusal under normal circumstances. And I believe he will have asked far and wide, including asking quite a number of people, including Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who virtually, allegedly, has been his form of a godfather who transported him to the position that he is now. Now, if that has not happened, it therefore means we are dealing with a dinner of devil with long nights. Now, if Mr. President has not just given the nod to Vice President, please go ahead. If you win, you win. If you lose in a very fair contest, I'll throw in my card. And the Vice President has not gotten that, and he has gone ahead to declare that he's going on. Hey, I dare say more of what we call confusion break a bone. It may be a yepa situation. Yes, I think he's qualified to do what he has decided to do. I also believe that he has looked at the risk factors, including the shenanigans that will come in the trail of his declaration. Talk about backstabbing, talks about he being a Christian and a member of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, pitched against the possible backlash, most unfortunately, of drawing us back into the Muslim
Christian issue.
Christian divide, and then getting back to the Omoluabi factor. And for those who may not understand, Omoluabi factor is a factor that says there are certain things you do that are acceptable, that are right, but may not be expedient. In modern statecrafts, that naturally should be thrown into the dustbin.
Yeah.
But the Omoluabi also now then said, yes, even if you are going to do something that is way out, okay, not in line, say get the nod of A, get the nod of B, get the nod of C. And if that has not happened, I am afraid the perception
And
will seem to be out there.
At this point,
that
at this point, if you can hear me, at this point, I'm just wondering, and of course, maybe only the vice president would be able to answer that, but we've actually not gotten any hint at all. I'm actually wondering if the vice president did consult, well, his political godfather now, the former governor of Lagos State, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, if he did consult him to say he was going to run. And I'm just wondering what that kind of moment would have been. I mean, it must have been an awkward moment. I mean, considering the fact that, you know, the former governor of Lagos State had made it clear, even before the vice president came out, that he wants to run.
That throws the spin in the pot of pan. If that had happened, we will not be, in my honest opinion, will not be in the kind of guess game that we have in the first place. That consultation will be something like, oh, Asiwaju, I didn't know you were going to, laughable though, I didn't know you were going to, but from what I know and from what I see and from my calculations based on intelligence information of what I see and the body language I have, I do not think you will stand a chance, and these are my reasons. And so I think I stand a better chance based on A, B, C, D. Let's iron it out. It's not a confrontation. You've taken me this far, and I can assure you that going forward, I'm going to be able to deliver. Now, the Asiwaju Bola Tinubu that a lot of people know, who has made this a life ambition, of course, naturally, in a closed door room environment, who say, oh no, I mean, it's not possible. Oh no, it's not possible. How can that happen? But you know, the day will follow the night, and reason might prevail. And then Asiwaju Bola Tinubu said, okay, based on what you have said and what I've checked and rechecked upon myself, I think, politically speaking and sagaciously speaking, I think you go ahead so that we don't have a lose-lose situation. I do not think that has happened. I am not convinced that has happened. And so that element of the Omoluabi, which some people, I'm very sure, don't want to hear, has actually not taking place. And so you want to throw your heart into the ring. And like Esther in the Bible, if you die, you die. If you perish, you perish. Again, I want to be clear. The Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is able, capable, should be able to step into the shoes of Mr. President, should be able to, all things being equal, get the nod of his, okay, you call him godfather or his benefactor. It should not just be Bola Tinubu alone. It should be some other persons. If that had not happened, I am more than convinced at the stage that I have reached in life, and being very realistic to say something is just not neat. It's going to be a rough ride.
Yes.
And it's like in a military parlance, you do a coup, you either succeed and get the prize, or you fail, you buy the dust kind of situation.
Honestly, I would actually want us to continue with this discussion, but unfortunately we've run out of time, but we're going to have another time to speak on this deeper than we have done. But thank you very much, Mr. Akinfatunke, for your time. Thank you so very much.
I must also thank you, and thank you for your incisive questions. Continue to throw people under the bus the way you've thrown some of us that will be able to, to survive it. But clearly speaking, there's a lot of heat. I also like to say, if Mr. President sets the person that I'm going to hand over to is not known, and that if you know him, that person might be dead in any minutes. So it may not be some of the contenders we are all looking at now. So let us continue to keep our fingers crossed, including the fact that hopefully power. I'm sure you are expecting what I'm going to say here.
Yeah.
Power may not shift to the south.
To the south.
Thank you.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much for your time. Well, that's how much we
Thank
can
you.
take on the program this week. We thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.